Hello Debate Kansas City. My name is Gabe Cook and I'm here to begin a series that we're going to be running in Debate Kansas City for policy debate, where we go through every speech that happens in a policy debate round and give you tips on how to best prepare for that speech. Now we're going to begin at the first affirmative constructive. Alright? In the first affirmative constructive, the affirmative team will lay out their case. They're going to read evidence. They're going to try to detail typically a problem, cause, and a solution in some kind of format. And they're going to offer a plan or a piece of legislation that they're essentially asking the judge to support. So what you need to do in order to have a very good first affirmative constructive is follow the following 5 tips that I'm going to lay out. Alright, first, when you get the first affirmative constructive, it's usually going to be written out. Maybe you've written it, or maybe a coach wrote it, or maybe you got it from Debate Kansas City evidence. However you got your hands on the first affirmative constructive, you need to read it through out loud once and time yourself. Alright, if you're going to a Debate Kansas City weeknight tournament, that first affirmative constructive speech can last 5 minutes. If you're going out to a weekend tournament, it can last 8 minutes. And what you want to do is take the whole thing and just read it through once. Even if you're tripping over words, if there's parts you don't quite understand, it doesn't matter. Time it and see how long it takes you in that first read through. What that's going to do is give you a gauge on how much you need to cut out of the first constructive and how quickly that you'll need to read it in order to be able to get it in within the timelines that are set. Alright, step 2 with the first affirmative constructive. Highlight the evidence. Alright, so you've read it once, you know how long it reads you on that trial run, or you know how long it takes you to read it on that trial run rather. Now you want to go through and highlight. And what you do is you take a highlighter and you look for the key parts of the evidence, the things that you absolutely have to get in. So you're looking for quality arguments along with supporting data. And the things that you don't want to highlight within the evidence might be a sentence of repetition. Maybe the author makes the same argument twice, which often happens in evidence. People will rephrase themselves, and so look to eliminate that. But be careful and don't eliminate important parts of the evidence. You want to simply eliminate the parts of the evidence that seem least important or possibly even most repetitive. Alright, so that was step 2. Step 3. Now that you've highlighted the evidence for content, emphasize key words. So in other words, you're going to look for pieces of the evidence that you think are most persuasive, and you might take it and circle a key word that you see in the evidence and say, when I get to this word, I really want to put a lot of passion and energy into it. These are also called verbal cues, and you can put them all throughout the first affirmative constructive. Maybe there are certain points where you know that you need to pause, or certain points where you want to speed up for dramatic effect. Either way, go through the evidence, and after you've highlighted for content, find keywords that you want to emphasize, add in some verbal cues so that when you look down and you're reading the first affirmative constructive, you tell yourself, it's almost like you're an actor, you know, saying this line needs to be delivered this way, this line needs to be delivered that way. Alright, the 4th step that you need to take. Details, details, details. Alright, you've read the evidence for content and you think you know a lot about it. Go ahead and read it a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th time. Make sure you know what every piece of that evidence is saying. And specifically, look at the plan. Know all the details in your plan, how much it's going to cost, who's going to enforce it, who's going to fund it, and think of any question that you could be asked in cross-examination after the first affirmative constructive. Know the evidence, know the statistics, so that if somebody asks you a question, you can say, well, our Jones evidence under the problem says this number or this fact. Look for all of those details, and if you do, you're going to sound so much smarter in cross-examination. Alright, the 5th and final step. What you want to do here is practice, practice, practice. I would advise reading the first affirmative constructive once every night before your first tournament. Especially if you write a new affirmative constructive in the middle of the year. You know, go back and practice it over and over again. You want to know this first affirmative constructive so well that you could practically give it in your sleep. And here's the thing that it's going to help you with. Especially if you're in a debate round where you have community judge, a round where you're not going to be talking extraordinarily fast, you're going to be at a conversational rate. If you can deliver the majority, or at least 30 or 40% of your first affirmative constructive while making eye contact and speaking directly to the judge, I guarantee that your speaker points will go up, up, up. I promise that your speaker points will go up if you are able to deliver the first affirmative constructive with just a ton of eye contact. All right, so quick recap. First step, read the first affirmative constructive out loud once. Figure out the words that you don't know, the pronunciations you may need help with, know how long it's going to take, and find out if you need to cut anything out of it. Second step, highlight the evidence. You're going to be looking to make the evidence as short and as sweet as possible so that you can get it in time. Third step, find the key words you want to emphasize. Treat it almost like a script, like you're an actor who says, at this moment I've got to be passionate, at this moment I need to pause, etc. The fourth step is details, details, details. Know that evidence inside and out. Fifth and finally, practice, 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 so that you can just about give this speech in your sleep, and it will really help your speaker points. The first affirmative constructive is the only stable speech in a debate round. You know it's going to be exactly the same every time you give it. So if you're careful, if you practice, if you really put time into it, you can give a great speech every time. Hope it helps, and hope that you're enjoying Debate Kansas City. Thanks and take care.